What is going on, baseball fans? A big day for the New York Mets. Absolute gigantic day for the New York Mets. And we're going to be doing a New York Mets channel. We're going to be doing a podcast once a week. It's in the link in the description below. And I got the volume on my phone. I do that all the time. But I figured, come on here tonight, man. The Mets went out there. They got one of the best players in all of baseball. We'll pop on here for about an hour. We'll talk about the Mets offseason. Some of the players that we see them potentially trying to go out there and acquire to fill out this roster. But I am pumped up. I'm going to introduce you to both the guys that are going to be on the pod with me. We'll start with Tino, man. That is going to be the name of the channel, by the way. It's called What Do You Say? It's in the link in the description below, so please go on over there after and subscribe. But what's going on, man?
Nothing, man. So, yeah, What Do You Say is the podcast. Now, What Do You Say, Tino? But, it rolls off the tongue nice. It's like, what do you say? And, here's what I have to say. Today is a different feel, man. It's a different feel just across baseball in general. I think you see it just based off Yankee reactions and just baseball fans' reactions everywhere, whether you're a Met fan or not. Lindor moving from Cleveland affects the AL, it affects the Central, but it just is kind of like a changing of a guard, man. You see that Steve Cohen ain't messing around. He ain't messing around even a little bit. And if you wanted to see any more proof, go to his Twitter. What was his response after the trade? Let's get down to brass tacks and talk about black jerseys. He doesn't even care about the trade. Let's go, man. There's a swagger about the Mets, and I'm so excited, man. Today's a great day.
Great day to be a Met fan. Maze, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. How are you guys? Just a sad, lonely Mets fan, but no more, though. So the days of the Wilpons are behind us. We finally got somebody that knows how to spend money as much as my wife does. We're good to go, guys. I love it.
Yeah, I wasn't I knew they were going to be aggressive. I mean, as soon as they get Steve Cohen, the guy's worth $14 billion. And he came out here and he basically said he was going to make this team better. He did say in his opening press conference that he wasn't going to spend like a drunken sailor. So I thought maybe they'd be a little bit cautious in the way that they spend. They added McCann, the catcher. A lot of us were expecting potentially Real Muto, really good all-around prospect. But, obviously that didn't end up happening. But instead, the Mets go out there today. They surprise everybody. I saw the tweet by Jeff Passan, and I think that's how you pronounce it, Passan, whatever it is. I saw the tweet. Yeah. I saw the tweet, and I was like, oh, my God. And, he said the Mets are about to get Francisco Lindor, and we haven't had a dynamite shortstop like that since Jose Reyes. And you're talking – and I will say this. Reyes at his best was probably a top 10 player in baseball. That's how special he was, but he's right there with him. This guy is a dynamite player. He's had 30 home runs 4 years in a row before the obviously last year during the pandemic. He's got 2 Gold Gloves. He's in the prime of his career. The only caveat, I guess, is that he's only got 1 year left on that deal. But Uncle Stevie's going to extend him. I'm not worried about that. And on top of it, guys, we bring in Carrasco. I feel like people are forgetting about that because obviously Lindor was the headliner. We bring in a guy that has been a great pitcher in the major leagues. I know he's up there in age. He's 34 years old, but he's going to fill out this rotation nicely.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah, one of the most exciting parts for me is the fact that we got another starting pitcher to add to the rotation along with Lindor. Like, there was a cherry on top of this Sunday that we kind of weren't expecting as Mets fans. And it's like, I messaged you guys this morning. I said, the Mets are getting Lindor. And then the news broke, and then we found out that Carrasco was part of the deal. I mean, that was pretty exciting to know that we went out, we got another starting pitcher that we can add to this rotation. So now whether or not the Mets get Bauer, or we don't have to necessarily be in play for Bauer to necessarily compete. We can add Carrasco to that rotation.
What was funny too, Mage, is that I also wrote when you guys were blowing that up, I was like, damn, like I kind of wished it was Rosario and not Jimenez. Then the news came out again. I was like, oh, well, I guess I spoke too soon. It's both of them. But, here's the other thing. We talk about contracts with Lindor, and I think that deal will get done, but we talked about it off air. Something to be excited about is Carrasco's under team control until 2022. He has an option for 2023. So they're also looking at this long term. And I think a lot of people sleep on Carrasco because he battled leukemia, but it's not like he's injury plagued or anything. He was battling cancer. He worked his way back through the bullpen. You're talking about a guy, his K per 9 is probably over a 10 on a really good season. He won, I think, 4 consecutive seasons of 10 plus games. This is a guy with a mid 3, sub 3 ERA. this is a gem. It's a diamond in the rough. And look, I was listening to Talking Heads all day. Some people view him as a potential 2 in this rotation. I don't see it that way, but I mean, that's high praise. And that goes to show you the talent that they're getting out of Carrasco. And again, everyone wants to talk about Lindor, but that's a need. The Mets needed a rotational guy for this pitching staff, and he checks off a box on that need, especially, when you check off a huge need in the middle of the infield with Lindor.
Well, with the exception of 2009, Carlos Carrasco has had an ERA of 3.4 or lower over the last 5 years. That's a starting worthy pitcher in the major leagues. And actually last year, we know there was a shortened COVID season, but he was 3-4 with a 2.91 ERA.
Yeah, and it was a desperate need for us. I'm going to get to Joe's in a second talking about the trade, but it was a desperate need for us. With Syndergaard due to miss up until potentially close to the All-Star break, we don't know. Obviously, we hope he's back sooner than that, but when you get Syndergaard back, we were talking about this before we went live, you add him to this rotation. If you have a 100% healthy Noah Syndergaard to go with Jake at the top, you got Stroman, now you add Carrasco, and you got Peterson at the back end of it. I mean, you're all of a sudden, guys, you're looking at a really good starting rotation, and we're not even getting to the lineup yet, where I don't think we're done, by the way. I still think the Mets are going, and we were talking before, I think the Mets are going to add George Springer. I really do. I think the Mets are going to go out there and they're going to add George Springer. You do that, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, guys, because we know the Mets met things up a lot of times, but I'll tell you what, man, you got yourself a contender. You get a guy like George Springer, you add him to this lineup, and I want to go over kind of what we project the lineup to be. But Joe says, I had no problem with the talent given up for Lindor. I don't think any of us. And obviously, a lot of us, we like the young shortstop Jimenez, but I mean, Rosario was a major letdown. Ahmed Rosario, number 1 prospect in baseball. And whenever I saw him play, guys, he just never stood out to me. He was always a guy that it was like, he's okay at everything. He didn't have like a plus trait.
People wanted him to be the next Reyes, and it just never came around. They brought Reyes back to help Rosario take the next step, and it never happened. And what's crazy is, you hinted at it. You bring in a guy now that, Reyes won a batting title. He was never an MVP candidate, but he won a batting title. You're bringing in an MVP candidate, a shortstop. It's crazy. Our shortstop statistics, hitting wise, and again, Lindor is a beast at fielding, a beast. And we tweeted this out on the What Do You Say Twitter already, just a highlight reel of diving catches. But his bat, he's top 2, top 3 in every statistic you could look at since he's been in the league at the shortstop position. Our shortstop since 17-16, bottom 5. I mean, that's a significant jump. You're jumping 20 spots. I mean, it fits a need, but that is turning the page. That is taking care of something that, they must have came in. Steve Cohen and this group, Jared Porter, must have looked at the team and was like, we got to change this. I mean, we have 2 rotational shortstops, a second baseman. Jimenez is playing everywhere. It's like, let's cut the shit. Let's go get a guy. And Lindor is a guy, man. I mean, that's a fish. That's a
big fish. That's a shark.
Yeah.
I saw McNeil on Twitter, who's diehard into Cleveland sports. He posted out after the Lindor trade the prospective lineup for the Indians, and all I said was shortstop. But going back to what you said about the trade and the assets, listen to Sandy Alderson today. They asked him about the assets that he gave up and whether or not that went against what he mentioned about growing their farm system. And he said, no. He said, the guys that we gave up were probably 6th or 7th in our farm system, 7th or 8th. He said, we're still maintaining our top 5 guys in our farm system. When we're not looking to include any of them in any of our trades, any deals. So I agree with, I think it was Jose I like this deal. I think that the Indians got fleeced, to be honest with you.
I really do. I think we robbed them.
They got 2 second rounders, our last 2 second rounders, 2020 and 2019. If you guys didn't know who the other guys were, Josh Wolf and Isaiah Green, I believe. Yeah, Isaiah Green. Those are 2 second rounders. One's an outfielder, one's a high school pitcher, basically. You know what I mean? And so we talked about this in that group chat initially. It's like, it's not like we gave up future assets. We gave up current second round assets that we had used. But you can still maintain a farm system by giving up a couple seconds as long as it doesn't take away anything from the future. You know what I mean? They didn't need to give up a first or next year's second to get Lindor. We gave guys that already exist, that have a name to paper, and they've evaluated and looked at them, and they viewed them highly. These are guys that, if you listen to Sandy's presser, wasn't easy giving them up. These are guys that they took in the second the last 2 years. They view them highly. But clearly, guys, they're trying to win right now. I mean, 2021, it's all geared towards let's win the damn thing. Let's win this division. Let's get back to the top of the standings. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's been a long time since I've been watching the Mets since mid-90s, really, and they've only been to the playoffs 99, 2000, 2006, 2015, and 2016, if you even want to count 16, with the playing game. And it's been a long time coming, and the Mets have not had sustained success since I've been watching them. I think we're starting to see new era, guys, where I think we're going to see it, and it's mainly because of Uncle Steve. Steve Cohen has brought a passion and optimism into this New York Mets fan base, and it's really insane how an owner could do that for us. But Wilpon nickeled and dimed us for years, and I think finally the Mets are going to operate like a big market franchise, like they should have been doing for a very long time.
They didn't have to spend a dime to do this. This was a trade. I think the craziest part that is throwing a lot of people off is we expected the Springer signing. That's what I thought would be the first move for Uncle Steve to spend the money, and he did it with McCann, but you expected him to go out and throw that around. He didn't even do that yet. Yeah. This is just him being a guy. And he talked about this nonstop. And I love Porter. I mean, the guy knows baseball. If you listen to the press conference, he's not satisfied. He is not settled. I mean, they might say the right things and they're going to enjoy the Lindor signing the next couple of days. They're ready to work. I mean, I think this is the appetizer to what you said. And they made the right front office moves. And I think people were getting impatient that we didn't sign anyone. And that's understandable. But we were signing people. We were signing people that were going to make these decisions. Dude, Porter has come in and has been wheeling and dealing.
Well, ever since we got rid of Brody Van Wagenen and the Wilpons, you can tell that there's an adult in the room now, right? And that started with bringing Sandy Alderson back. I think Jared Porter was a great hire to be general manager of this team. And just to go back and highlight 2 points that both of you made. Tino, I mean, with giving up the second-round picks, in baseball, it's much different than the sport of football. These picks take a very long time to develop. Some of them don't come up until maybe they're 26 or 27 if they're not very talented coming out of college or high school. So it takes a very long time. So I don't care about the picks. And then aside from that, we gave up 2 major leaguers for 2 major leaguers. Yet one of them was a pitcher, and the other one is a top 5 player in baseball. I'm okay with that by all means.
Love the trade. Absolutely love the trade.
Yeah, and to your point about having Cohen here, Cohen was a Mets fan. It's great because he knows what we had to endure. And he really came to the rescue. And what I really like about Steve Cohen as the owner here, which I wish more would do, he's very engaging with the fan base. He was out there, I think the first day that tickets went on sale, whatever it was, he was over at Citi Field and he was greeting fans and, talking to them.
That's the day they signed McCann and Porter. That's what I mean. He's out there handing out meals at Citi and he's making moves. It's awesome. I'm not used to it. I don't know.
He engages with fans on Twitter as well. He asks questions. He answers questions. I love it. It's a new day.
It's a new regime, and it's nice to have, and I'm going to get to a couple of these questions for you guys. By the way, I want to say thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you guys for all your incredible support. I know a lot of you guys probably aren't even Mets fans that are in here, but I appreciate all you guys for coming in and supporting. If you want to go into the description below after the fact, we're going to be doing an exclusive New York Mets channel. It's going to be called What Do You Shay? I'll still be doing Mets streams over here. Going to try to pedal more people over to the channel. We're going to be doing the podcast over there. Going to try to do it once a week, maybe even more if it picks up steam. So be sure to check that out. Love both these guys. Wanted to work with them when I found out they were Mets fans. So
make sure you follow us on Twitter as well.
Follow them on the Twitters. Yeah, we're gonna have a What Do You Shay Twitter as well. So Please check that out. And first question from New York Sports MC, and then we're gonna get to Yo Elvis. He says, Chris, what about third base? JD's defense is bad, and we were talking about that before the show. First thing, there's probably gonna be a DH, and we'll see what happens there. And we still don't know if we're gonna get Springer and everything else, but let's talk about that. What do you guys think we do at third base?
So Well, Midge, you can go first if you'd
Well,
like.
let me just set it up, and then I'll throw it to you, Tino. But
Go ahead.
don't forget, we still have Jed Lowry on this team.
Don't do this. Don't do this.
I did it.
I'm having a good day. You're gonna bring up Jed Lowry? I don't.
That's it. That was my only comment. I'm turning it over
no.
to you, Tino. Now you can pick up my trash. There you go.
Oh God! All right. No. Well, I was just going to talk about JD's defense. Okay, I heard in the press conference. Here's the thing. So the guarantee everyone's saying right now is like because of this move with Lindor, we lose Jimenez and Rosario. You just plug Jeff McNeil at second, where every Met fan has been dying to actually see him play every day, but we couldn't because of Cano, and move JD to third. But that is the issue. JD's defense isn't great at third. He's actually better in left. So don't be surprised if you see a guy, and they mentioned it today, and I didn't know how to feel about it. Luis Guillorme might play second and Jeff McNeil is going to play third. Don't be surprised if you see that. And I also don't think they're done. Well, I know we're linked to DJ. I don't think we're getting LeMahieu. But look, obviously there's some things they got to work out. And we'll see how much they believe in JD. I know that's what everyone's plugging. But
you're going to piss off a lot of the people in this chat. I got a lot of Yankee fans in here.
Yeah. I don't want to take him. I don't because I know that the Yankees fans are holding on to that. I know a lot of them, if they don't get DJ at least, it's going to be bad. So I'm not trying to take him, but the thing is, and we talked about it, they're not done yet. And JD has some work to do. And I think they're not going to give up on him, but they got to answer center field and then see what they're going to do in left. Like JD might have to take the Jeff McNeil role, man. I mean, Jeff McNeil played like 7 positions the last 2 years. It's ridiculous. Everything but catcher and pitcher, I think. So JD might have to take that role if he wants to have a position on this team, because right now, man, we're building the super team.
It is nice to have that problem. To have a guy like JD Davis that you have to worry about getting into your lineup. I mean, and a lot of that has to do with Dom Smith. I mean, the way that he took off last year, and that's another guy. Since he lost the weight last year, he really exploded. You could argue he was our best hitter. That's how good he was. When you think about this lineup, guys, and I want to go over it. I'm going to get to a couple of these super chats, but I want to go over the type of lineup that as Mets fans, if we go out and add a guy like George Springer, that we could potentially be looking at. Yo, Elvis, man, thank you very much. He says, go get Springer, trade Smith, and get Bullpen. I don't want to trade Smith, man, especially with the DH. I don't want to trade Smith, man. That guy is a hitter, man. And I understand where you're coming from. We obviously got Pete at first base. I get it. But with the DH, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you have any? I know a lot of people were talking about trading Dom Smith before the year started last year.
See, but here's the thing. The reason why I like Dom Smith so much on this team is because you got to give guys days off.
Right.
Dom Smith can fill in the outfield. He can fill in for Alonso on days off. So I hate to call Dom Smith a rotational player because I think he's actually going to see a lot of time because you're going to have to give days off to guys like Nimmo, Conforto, Alfonso. He can fill in those gaps. So, and you talked about it, Chris. I mean, his bat in this lineup is gold to us right now. I mean, he broke out. He's a great hitter. I don't want to give him up, especially not for bullpen help. I still think we're not done yet. We signed Trevor May. I think we're going to be in play for Brad Hand as well. But I don't want to trade Dom Smith. I think he's going to fill in great here. I think he's a good rotational piece for the Mets.
He's also an insurance policy for Pete, man. I love Pete. I'm invested in Pete. But fact of the matter is Dom plays better defense at first, compared to Pete right now. And fact of the matter is we don't know if the DH is here to stay, but it probably is. And with that being the case, and they talked about it in the presser, they don't need to go out and look for a DH because their situation with Dom and Pete right now is picture perfect for that. You want to give guys rest days? Who better to give a rest day to than Pete? I mean, Pete needs it most of the time because you can tell his defense has been stressing him out since he won that Rookie of the Year. Last year, it was really, really messing with him. So, you know what? Look, it is what it is. I don't want Pete to just be a DH. I don't. But if that's where the MLB is going, at least the National League, get with the times, man. Seriously, get with the times. There's no problem with it. You don't hear anyone complaining over in the AL when you got your big bat just DHing and hitting the shit out of the ball. It's the way it's going right now, and we have a guy perfect to do that.
He was a godsend for us last year. L.A. Louis says, how many starters do you have besides deGrom, Stroman, Carrasco, and I guess Peterson? Your rotation is promising, but nowadays you need at least 6 pitchers who could start for spot starts and injuries. Well, yeah, Lou, obviously we alluded to Syndergaard. He's probably going to be back around June. L.A. was a big Dodger fan, so the last time we went up against him, we all remember that series. What a great series that was. But then obviously you got a guy like Lugo. You've got who we like. Yeah, Matz, we were talking about who could be that fifth starter. I want to talk about that too before the year starts. Mets got some options there, and obviously that may play out in spring training. We may find out who's going to win it that way, but Mets got some options there as that potential fifth starter. I think the way Peterson played, he's probably going to be the 4 going in. But then you're looking at a guy potentially like Lugo, a guy like Matz, who we've talked about going to the bullpen.
You also have Gesellman and Corey Oswalt that could spot start also, or in the event of injury. So
yeah, we got a lot of options.
Something to keep an eye on too, guys. Last year's 60-game season, and this is something that got swept under the radar. We don't know what spring training is going to look like. This is still going to be a different season, and baseball is a sport unlike anything else, man, where it takes guys some time to get in a rhythm. That's where the injuries develop. That's why there were so many hammy injuries last year. Pitchers were getting hurt. It's depth. And that was another thing. You want to talk about the presser? I don't think Garrett Porter could have said, we need depth enough. That's why he's not settling on this pitching staff. It takes one Syndergaard injury in spring training at the start of the year where you're like, well, we only had 5 pitchers, and now we're rotating in Porcello, who was a guy we were hoping was going to be a 6th. And look, for people blowing up the chat about the bullpen, Lugo's best fit for us is that bullpen. And I think everyone knows it. But he's versatile. He's our Jeff McNeil of the pitching staff. When they need him, he can start, go 7 innings, and be fucking lights out. I saw him in a Subway Series game against the Yankees 2 years ago, outduel Sevy. And it was nuts. I couldn't believe it because he was just coming in to fill in. But he went 7 shutout innings. It was ridiculous. And that's how good he is. But he is filthy.
Really good.
He's filthy for that 7th, 8th inning. He's perfect for us there.
The thing about Matz, and what's going on, Tuto, man? Thank you so much. He says, ciao, Paisano Tana. What's going on, Tuto, man? Great. He's from Italy. He always pops in, man. Thank you so much for being here, man. Thank you for being a great supporter. Nice. Ciao is right. But, about Matz. I've always thought this about Matz, guys. To me, I always thought he'd be better suited in the bullpen because he has really good stuff for a lefty, but he always gives you like 3 or 4 good innings, and then he can't go deep into games. And I think that's where he's headed once we get Syndergaard back, and I think he'll be more valuable there. But to start the year, I think I'm kind of with Mazur. I think Matz is probably the favorite to be the 5th starter to open the year.
The issue is, though, he can't get out of the first sometimes.
I know.
Never forget, he gave up like 20 against Philly the one time in the first inning, and he didn't even get an out. It's like, I feel like he has his own PTSD if the fans don't have it enough. That's why they moved him to the pen. That's why they brought in openers for him. I mean, they've done everything. The Mets have really tried everything to make sure Matz can stay on this team and be successful, from the openers to put him in the pen to moving him down the rotation, and it hasn't worked yet. And I think you're right. I think with how they've treated it, he'll probably get the first go at it, just kind of out of respect and the fact that they brought him back. But, I mean, how long do you give him? How long is that leash, because it's only going to mess him up if he has that one rough outing, and then it's almost like, where do you even put him? And how do you get usage out of him?
We're talking about the starting rotation, and we just on a day in which we just traded for Francisco Lindor. I just want to say that there is nobody happier about this trade than Jacob deGrom. I just want to put that out there, right? He no longer has to worry about the 1-0 losses on his record anymore with a sub-2 ERA. So
that's a great point you bring up. It just seems like the Mets lineup, when he pitches, they just take him for granted. They're like, we got a bye day. We can take the day off. And it's so frustrating. Like that 3 years ago, whenever it was, when he won the Cy Young with like a 1.7 ERA? He won he won like 11 games or whatever it was. But you're right, with Lindor in this lineup, and we'll talk more about Springer. I think he's coming here.
So do I.
We're gonna have some sticks.
Tino brought up the point about having Matz out there and, giving up runs. And, I think you got to solidify the bullpen, but having good offensive lineup will keep you in games if Matz does tend to give up those bad first innings. So,
well, also look, and we had offense last year, and we talked about this before we got on too. Our issue was runners in scoring position and clutch hitting and timely hitting.
It's always been terrible.
Yeah, but if you get Springer 2-man, that's the kind of unsung, unstatistical side of it. They just have that gene, man. Lindor was the top dog on a team. He literally brought the Indians 1 game away from winning a World Series. I mean, that's how good his just pedigree is on a team. And so, man, it changes things. If we can just get some timely hitting, our offense is pretty much there already. This is just icing on the cake.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this. You guys get me hyped up for baseball, and we're still what 2.5 months away or whatever. But I am so hyped up for baseball to start, man. It's been a long time. Well, I'm always excited, but it's been a long time that I felt this excited for the Mets because my expectations are high going into the year. There's no doubt about it. Eric, man, thank you very much. He says, I'm 47 and a Mets fan since about 84. Easily top 5 all-time move. Maybe Carter, Hernandez, Piazza, Beltran, and this one, Cespedes, honorable mention. I'm gonna tell you the Cespedes trade. That trade to me is I'm trying to think. I for that 2-month stretch or whatever it was, the Mets have never had a player, in my opinion, just for that 2-month stretch, that carried a team the way that he did that year in 2015. It was insane. How many home runs did he hit in like that 60-game stretch? It was insane. And they loved
more than when
trade.
he won the home run derby. He had more than when he won the home run derby at City. It was insane. It was insane.
And they lucked into that trade because you remember, a big part of that magically, because I like to reminisce about some of my favorite Mets teams. A big part of that season, and because they originally proposed the Carlos Gomez trade.
Yes.
And Wilmer Flores breaking down in tears on the field, it brought the team closer together. Like, that was a magical moment. And I almost feel like if the Gomez trade never happened, in the sense that that moment never happened, the Mets may never go on that run. It kind of brought the team together. It was such a magical moment. And then they get Cespedes, and then it was just on like Donkey Kong. But I'm with him, man. This trade is up there. This is the biggest player we've brought in, probably in terms of an acquisition, since Beltran. He may even be bigger than him. I mean, this is a big, big move by the New York Mets.
Where do you put Francisco Lindor in terms of, let's say, top 5 in all of Major League Baseball? Because for me, I think he's up there, right? I mean, you got to think it's probably Betts, Trout, and then Lindor.
You just put him in terms of just shortstops. I mean, you can say he's just
he's
the best
shortstop in baseball.
I mean, other than Tatis, I mean, next to him, I saw the stats. I mean, the only person he had a down year last year. The only person you can compare him with defensively is probably Tatis. And then hitting, I mean, we had a 60-game sample. Before that, he had like a 6 WAR. I mean, it's insane. The hitting, I'm pretty sure I saw the stat. He's already top 4 all time in shortstops with 30 home run seasons. A-Rod's at the top with 7. Then it's like 5-4, and he has 3. So he's going to creep up. If he gives us a 30 home run season and is giving us Gold Glove caliber defense at short, I mean, then we're not even. This is the biggest. I mean, you don't have to go any further.
Let's just talk about that, and we'll get to the Arenado thing in a second, Joshua. Let's just talk about that. The increase in just the defense from the most important defensive position, maybe outside of catcher. You could probably argue catcher, but some would say shortstop. The increase from Rosario to Lind, like that alone is so. Even if the guy hits 15 home runs, just the increase in the production defensively at the shortstop position is so important to this New York Mets roster. It adds at least 3, 4, 5 wins just with his glove alone, as opposed to Rosario.
Yeah, so I mean, back to the point about the trade. I mean, I would you guys disagree? I mean, in terms of that order, I think he's probably a top 3 baseball player. When was the last time that the Mets had anybody that was maybe top 3 in all of Major League Baseball?
It's been a long time, man.
To acquire him, I agree. The Beltran trade, it just felt like, wow, we were able to get him, especially being that the Yankees were also vying for him that year as well. You know, so we felt like we won that. But then the Piazza trade, but yeah, this is something special though.
Yeah, it's not like, quite the Piazza level for me, but it's damn close.
It's a face of the franchise type of move, though. That's what it is. I mean, that's the feel. I mean, Pete was taking that over because he just took it over by storm. The home run, the home run king as a rookie, and like he was the face of the Mets, and he probably still is in hindsight. But Lindor, man, I mean, that's what you're talking about. You're not even just talking about baseball. You're talking about everything, like the whole damn package. It's crazy. And I put him with, the Piazzas and the Beltran because it's just transcendent. It really is. It just kind of exceeds it. He's coming to New York where, I mean, you look at him. What is there not to like about this guy? He smiles at everything. He's gonna have every New York dentist like advertising in the world.
Can you imagine if Nimmo stays on the team between him and Nimmo?
Oh my God!
They're gonna have to do dentist commercials.
Who would have thought the Mets would be smiling and happy? Like that's how you know it's different. We're normally miserable. It makes no sense.
And Josh says trade for Nolan Arenado. Who says no? I don't think they're going to make another trade of that mag. I think they're going to sign somebody. I don't expect another trade. I love Nolan Arenado, but I don't see that happening.
I would love Arenado too. I just don't think. I mean, what are we going to give up? And then on top of that too, I don't see Arenado being a Met.
Yeah, I would. He's a great player, but I don't see it. The Meat Church says Stevie Cohen is a Savage Port manager. He ain't playing. You're damn right, Meat Church, man.
Nope.
Thank you for popping in, buddy. And it's refreshing. I mean, to finally have an owner. And I'm a Knicks fan. I don't know how big of a basketball fans you guys are. I'm a Knicks fan. I've had to endure Dolan for years. And anybody that may not be a Met fan in here or may not be a baseball fan, I mean, it's comparable to that. I mean, they were that inept. I mean, since the Ponzi scheme in 2009. And I always said, guys, the Wilpons, the first word, I was on a podcast earlier today, actually. The guy asked me, what's the first word you think about when you think about the Wilpons? I said selfish. Because in 2009, when the Ponzi scheme came out, they knew what was going to happen, and they elected not to sell the team anyway. They knew that they were going to make the fans suffer, that they were going to be a small market team in a big market city, and we're finally free of that. And the most refreshing thing about Cohen, like Mays said earlier, he's a fan of the team. He knows what it's like to be a New York Mets fan. He cares about New York Mets fans. You see him on Twitter, like you guys were saying. He's asking for – when have you ever seen an owner of a team ask the fans what they want? Like in terms of players. It's crazy.
Or about food, or about jerseys. I mean, this guy's a comedian. It's amazing. He's asking about what we want at the concession stands. We can't even have fans at the stadium. Like, it doesn't even matter right now. He's talking about Carvel and Nathan's. It's like, it's so funny.
I love him. Mike says, do you guys think Alonso bounces back? He was really disappointing last year. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead. Give me your opinion.
I do. I think he picked it up at the end of last year, just to kind of put it shortly. I think he started getting his mojo back. I know the one walk-off home run he had on the day Tom Seaver passed is kind of like the high point of his season, probably the high point of the Mets season. But, like, seeing that, again, does he bounce back to the point where he's putting together a 50 home run season? I don't know, but are you gonna cry about it if he puts up 35, 40? I mean, if we have him at DH, as long as he's not batting under 250, if he's going 260, 270 with 35 home runs and gets over 100 RBIs, that's a bounce back to me. That's the Pete I expect, and I'm okay with it. 50 home runs is wild, okay? What he did, there's a reason only Mark McGwire and then Aaron Judge was able to do, but there's a reason that was there for that long. It's an insane season, and to do that in your first season is nuts. I think he can get there again, but, to give him some slack, if he's just DHing or, I would prefer those numbers if he picks up the fielding a little bit too. Maybe he gets better on the field, but I'm not looking for 50. Give me 35 to 40, get over the 100 RBI threshold, and just don't suck at the plate. Don't give me Stanton numbers. Don't give me Giancarlo Stanton numbers. I need something better than that. That would be the bounce back. Do the opposite of what he's been doing.
I like it. Go ahead, Maze. I'm sorry.
I think with Alonso, I think, some of that you got to attribute to the fact that it was a normal baseball season last year as well. The one thing that I like about Pete Alonso is that he loves these Mets fans too. Pete Alonso is a guy that enjoys being a New York Met.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't anticipate that he's not going to go out there. He's not going to work on the defense, put in the work in the offseason to get better. So I have confidence he's going to bounce back as well. And his numbers, like Tino and mentioned, weren't really all that bad.
He finished really strong. He got off to a bad start, and then he finished really strong over the last 20 games or so. But I'm with you guys. I think he'll bounce back. I think he's a great power hitter. I'm not going to say he's a great hitter, but he's a great power hitter. I think he's always going to be good for at least 35, 40 home runs. And he's one of the leaders. He is the face of this team outside of maybe Jacob deGrom. Both you guys are big Giants fans. We got a Giants question, naturally. I do a lot of Giants content. Andrew Thomas, who you guys probably like myself, he said, Chris, rumor coming out that we could get Julio Jones. would you want to get Julio or not? I've been asked this question a lot, and I saw the article. A couple of my subscribers pointed me to it. Listen. If we get Julio Jones, I'm not going to cry about it. But I mean, Julio Jones, what, 33? He's got injuries. He's got, I think, 2 or 3 more years on his deal. I would much rather just draft the wide receiver. Draft your Julio Jones. Get your 21-year-old Julio Jones. Rather than trade away draft capital to bring in a guy that's 32, 33 years old, making the money that he's making with the injury history that he has. He's on the downside of his prime. I would much rather get a younger receiver.
I just want to say hello to Andrew Thomas. I prefer if you spent more time in the weight room as opposed to here on YouTube. But no, I'm out on Julio Jones pass.
Yeah.
For all the reasons you mentioned.
Yeah, I'd rather. I think you agree, Tino. Right? You're gonna get younger there at the wide receiver.
1,000%. Draft someone.
Yeah, and Mage, we lost your camera, but I don't know if you can still talk. Testing, Mage. He'll be
there.
He'll be. Waterfly man, thank you very much. He says, Chris, don't embarrass G-Men fans. Take that hat off on a Mets show. Steve Cohen, baseball equals Jerry Jones. Football, decades of hype. Waterfly, it's gonna be fun. Waterfly. I know you're a big Yankee fan. It's gonna be fun. Having competitive baseball back in New York. Because I remember when I was younger as a kid, 99, 98, 99, 2000, that was the golden age for New York baseball. Obviously, we played each other in the Subway Series. And when the Mets are good, it's good for New York baseball. Even if you're a Yankee fan, it's good for New York baseball when both teams are good. And it's been a long time, Tino, when we were both kind of on the same page at the same time. Not that the Mets are on the right page very often in recent history, but
I've been rooting for a Subway Series World Series forever. I'm that type of person. I want to see New York get one. I mean, I'm a Giant fan, obviously, but you're seeing other big-time cities. LA just caught one. Florida's winning things. We got Philly winning. It's like enough. New York needs to get back. We need to get back. And what better than both teams squaring off, duking it out, and dealing with it? I would hate it. Deep down, I'd hate it. But I want it because I think New York deserves one, man. We deserve it. It's been too long.
We've been starving. And what's going on, Mace? We've been starving for a good sports in New York for a long time. I mean, and I think it's finally starting to turn around, but I'm with you, man. Plus, I'd want revenge on those guys. I mean, 2000, I have nightmares, Mace, about the 2000 World Series when the ball up atop Zeal's bat, the Timo Perez doesn't run out in game 1, and then Armando Benitez and John Franco blow the lead. It was almost like a carbon copy of the 2015 World Series. I want another crack at the Yankees. I want another crack at them. Sign me up.
Absolutely.
Sign me up, man. Joshua says, sadly, I don't think the DH is coming back, guys. Maybe it isn't. I thought it was, but I know there's no official word on it yet, Josh.
Yeah, I would like it. The only thing is, too, is that the Mets have really good hitting pitchers, though. So we do have an advantage there over some of the other teams.
Yeah, but I do think it does play to our strengths having the DH.
Our pitchers break.
Yeah. And Eric, thank you very much. Follow-up question. If the trade is a top 5 trade of all time, where would you rank a Bauer or Springer signing to follow this up? Great offseason. Let me ask you guys, first let me ask you, what would you prefer at this point in time? If you could only pick one, Bauer or Springer? I'm assuming you guys go Springer, but maybe you guys go Bauer. Maybe you want that souped-up rotation.
I'll take this one. Tino's been talking too much.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, but it's Springer for me because I feel like center field is something that we've been desperate for. I mean, I don't know, what seems like ages now. And not only that, too, we get another bat in this lineup to produce runs, which is something that, has been a problem for the New York Mets. And Tino alluded earlier to our issue with runners in scoring position. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, I think I'm going to pass on Bauer, and I'm gonna sign George Springer if I can have only one of the two.
No,
I agree. And look, Bauer is going to get a monster deal, man. Monster deal. Springer will cost us less, and honestly, we need him a lot more. I think he fits our team a lot more and fits this lineup and just what we need way more. Bauer would be great. I know everyone would say, let's get them both. We got Uncle Stevie. Sure. I mean, we can get both if we can, but if we got to pick one, I'm taking Springer, no doubt.
Yeah, and in terms of the offseason, Eric, I mean, it's got to be up there. I don't want to get too hyped up because I remember in 2004, we had that ridiculous offseason. Or maybe it was 2002, actually, when Art Howe was the manager. We added Roberto Alomar. We added Mo Vaughn. We added Jeremy Burnitz. We added Roger Cedeno back when he got fat. And it was a complete mess. So when you win the offseason, it doesn't always translate to wins on the field, but it would be up there as one of the biggest off seasons since I've been watching the New York Mets. If they go out there, I mean, you're talking about two of the biggest names in baseball coming over to bolster your lineup. The best shortstop, if not the best, second best shortstop in all of baseball. Yeah, and you add an owner that is worth more than the next three owners combined. So, yeah, Eric, I think this is the best offseason probably for the New York Mets since I've been watching baseball. If they go out there and get George Springer, like that's how good of an offseason it would be when you factor in the owner. Duran, man, thank you very much. Can Cohen finally pay the rest of Bonilla's money? Oh, the old July 1st joke, guys. Bobby Bonilla Day.
Which is crazy because people don't understand. I think the Braves, I forget the name now. It's escaping me. Maybe Tino knows. But the Braves are paying somebody for 30 years. It finally ends. I think this year or ended last year, too. Max Scherzer, the Nationals are going to be paying him, I think, 7 or 8 years after his contract is done. The Mets aren't the only team to do this, but I get it. The Mets are a laughing stock. So, I forgot what was it. Married with Children. Al Bundy once had a joke, and they say, what's the Harlem Globetrotter, or like what's the laughing stock of baseball or something? They say, they have one of those. They call them New York Mets. I gotta see if I can find the clip for you guys. I didn't do it any justice, but.
Well, you know what it is. You know why I think the Mets get a bad rap, and I'm not saying the Mets are a great organization. They're not. I don't think they're as bad as people lead on. I think it's because of the Yankees. Like, if we didn't share a town with the greatest franchise in the history of sports, not just baseball, sports, I don't think people would think as lowly as the Mets as they do. The Mets are a better organization than the Jets. So I don't think we've been that as bad as some people may think. We're just not close to the Yankees.
Yeah, the Mets should probably be located in South Jersey somewhere.
By the way, I wanted to, just so the chat gets to know you guys a little bit better. I meant to do this at the top of the show. And by the way, please go check it out in the description below. We're gonna be doing a Mets channel together. Probably gonna start doing pods in about a week, 2 weeks, whenever once we can start getting some content up for you guys. So please check that out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's going to be called, what's it going to be called again? Let me get rid of this. It's going to be called right there. What do you say? So go over there and check it out. But I wanted to start with Tino and kind of just tell everybody how you became a Met fan. What made you fall in love with this baseball team?
So, I mean, long, short answer, I guess, is Mike Piazza, man. So I told you guys briefly before I came on. So I'm a Giant and a Met fan, but I was a Met fan way before I was a Giant fan. Probably 99 is when I became a diehard Met fan watching Piazza. I wanted to be a catcher. No one ever wanted to be a catcher. Mike Piazza made me want to be a catcher. I was all in on it, regardless of the stakes. However hard someone was throwing, I want to be a catcher. I wear 31 to work. So Piazza was my guy. And then kind of from there, I would say I was probably more a Piazza fan than a Mets fan. And then I think, they made the World Series and I bought in, and then 9/11 happened, and I remember that to this day, and just everything the Mets stood for in that moment was just insane. And again, Piazza had a big part in that, and so it was surreal. I couldn't believe my favorite player was this hero in a sense, and just I was sold. I mean, I have the Piazza jersey on the wall. You can't see it, but it's a 9/11 jersey. I mean, that was a big thing. I'm right across the river of New York City, so that was a big deal for us over here in Hudson County. So that pretty much changed everything from 99 to 2001, and then 2006, 2007, they broke my heart. I cried like a baby during that Cardinals game, and I was sold. I was sold on the heartbreak and everything. And, here we are. 20 plus years later. I'm still crying like a baby, but on the inside, I'm happy now. We're happy now. So we've come a long way, guys. We've come a long way.
You know what's so funny? It's usually, and everybody always says it on my channel, because most Giant fans are Yankee fans. It's usually Mets, Jets, Giants, Yankees. And all three of us are Giants, Mets. It's just funny. You don't find that often. Yeah. I have a similar story to you. I was always like a casual baseball fan growing up. I played baseball. It was my best sport playing it. But I wasn't huge into in terms of watching it, probably until 96, 97. And then I fell in love with the Mets right around the same time. 98, when they got Piazza, it made me obsessed with the New York Mets. And I always go back to the Subway Series game. I think it was 98 or 99. I can't remember. When Matt Franco had the walk-off single against Mariano. Mariano hadn't blown a save in over a year. And it was, at Shea. And, ever since then, I've been a diehard Mets fan. But I always embraced the history of the Mets, the underdog mentality, the miracle Mets, the 86 Mets. I just always love rooting for the New York Mets, man. And, I hope one day I actually get to see them experience getting to see them win a World Series. And with our new owner, I think we might. But, Mage, go ahead, buddy.
Well, I wish I had a cool story like both of you, but, really my entire family grew up as Yankee fans. Everybody tried to get me to be a Yankee fan, and I didn't really care for my family much. I just said, the heck with them. And I said, well, who else is in New York? So I became a Mets fan, and I've been miserable ever since.
Yeah, so. but it'll be worth the pain when we get there.
Well, hopefully sometime soon. And I think it's the best equalizer being a Giants Mets fan, right? Because I can sympathize with Jets fans. You know what? It's okay. I'm a Mets fan. I know what you're going through. So
it's true. JB, man, thank you very much. He says Knicks, Giants, Mets, good at the same time. I think the Knicks and Giants are definitely headed down the right path. I think right now the Mets are the most advanced of those three teams, but I do think that the Knicks and the Giants are headed down the right path. David, man, thank you very much, man. Lindor, best position player we've had since Beltran. Better. David, Beltran's one of my favorite Mets ever, and I think he's actually really underrated. Obviously, he got a bad rap for what happened. Again, the lefty pitcher on the Cardinals. What's his name again? How's it escape me? The curveball at that when strike three looking. Who threw it again? 2006. Why is it escape? Whatever it was.
Adam Wainwright.
Wainwright.
Never forget.
Yeah,
that's when I cried. If you were wondering, that's when I cried.
When I cried was 99. Kenny Rogers walking in the winning run against the Atlanta Braves in the NLDS. So that's when I cried. But to lose the series, I think it's 6 games after Ventura had the Grand Slam single. But Beltran, to me, he may have had the greatest individual season in New York Mets history. I mean, it was that good in 2006. And then he kind of wore down the last 2 weeks. He was going to win the MVP. And then he kind of wore down the last 2 weeks. But Carlos Beltran was a fantastic New York Met. Great all-around player. Would have went to the Hall of Fame, I think, as a Met, had it not been for what happened at the end of his career. But, I mean, obviously we got to see if Lindor produces. But I think this is the biggest acquisition the Mets have made since Carlos Beltran. I think it's that big. I really do. I think it's the biggest acquisition they've made since Carlos Beltran. No. Let's see what we got here. Let's see if we got any questions here. Ray West says the Beltran. I was thinking of that, guys, as I was answering it. I think he had a home run in that game too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he had
the old Astro Stadium, man. I love that mountain in the center field. It's like a touch, because baseball fields used to just all have that unique feel about them. They still do, but the unique field is more on the outside. It's not in the actual playing field anymore. That's just great. It's like San Francisco, they have the bullpen still on the field. It's great. It's unique. It's it enriches you about it. That mound in the back of, Houston Astro Stadium was just great. Maybe it was Minute Maid Park at that time.
I think it might have been Enron. It might have been Enron. And then obviously they had some kind of Ponzi scheme and they had to change. I don't remember, but that I never really liked. I mean, it was definitely unique. And every park has their own thing. And I think that's what I've been to several baseball stadiums. I think I've been to 12. And I think that's why people like to go to all the different baseball stadiums, because they all have their different unique touch and feel. I think Citi Field, guys, and we got to go to a game this year. I think that it's up there. I mean, I think the Mets did a terrific job with their stadium. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I've been to both. I've been to Citi Field and then the Yankee Stadium, and I agree. It no matter where you go inside a Citi Field, you always have a view of the game.
Yeah,
and then they have the porch area with the Shake Shack and everything else, and it's it's a really nice, it's a really relaxed feeling over in Citi Field too.
Yeah, I thought they screwed up when they first built it. It was too Brooklyn-esque. And they really screwed up with the long dimensions and everything was green. But then they fixed it, and since then, man, I've been in love with the stadium. What's some of your favorite stadiums, guys, that you've been to before?
Well, so City's definitely up there. City's probably my favorite. I think it's the most fan friendly. Something I think it's easier for me to name the stadiums I didn't like. That's tough. That's tough because it's like I honestly hated all the New York stadiums back in the day. City stunk. Shea stunk. I loved it. I love what it stood for. Wasn't great. Old Yankee Stadium was whatever to me. New Yankee Stadium is kind of like whatever to me. I mean, and then we got the Giants stadiums. MetLife, like we can do without MetLife. I think we're all in agreement. It's not the best stadium. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like as a New York fan, it's almost easier for me to complain about them. But I love City. So City's the best out of all of those. But I'll go with City. Let's just go with City. I'll take that.
Yeah, I love City. Big Bang, man. Thank you so much, man. Put on my strawberry jersey today, and I heard the news. Cannot wait, man. What's going on, Big Bang, man? Thank you for being such a great supporter. And I want to talk about the lineup real quick, and then we're probably going to close this out in about 10 minutes. We're going to keep it to about an hour. And JB brought up JD plus Dom plus Nimmo plus prospects for Arenado would do it. That's a lot, but it might. I don't know Arenado. I'd have to look into that. I don't even know Arenado.
The question I have there, though, if you're giving them JD, Dom, and Nimmo, who's playing outfield for you besides Springer and Conforto?
There you go.
So I mean, I like Arenado. I think he's really good, but I also like the depth that we have. I like the fact that we can rotate guys, give them days off, and not feel like we miss a beat either.
Yeah, but let's go over the lineup real quick. We were talking about that before we went live. Let's just say we had Springer. Let's say we had Springer, Tino, to this Mets lineup.
I already have Springer in my lineup, written in pen. So.
All right, let me hear your lineup. Let me hear your lineup.
Well, again, right? So I think you have to start off with McCann, right? McCann's going to be your starting catcher. You're starting Pete Alonso at first. The biggest question for me is who plays second base.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm okay with Jeff McNeil playing third base as well. And then who do you play at second? Is it Luis Guillermo? I mean, like I said before, we have Jed Lowry still on this team. I mean, Jed's getting up there in age, but he's one of those rotational guys that can play both third, short, and second as well. Do you play him at second base? Or, do you put McNeil at second and JD at third, but then defensively you lose something with JD at third? I think that's my biggest question mark. Aside from that, then we're talking about, obviously, Lindor at shortstop. I would say Conforto in left, Springer in center, and Nimmo in right.
No. What about go ahead.
We going batting order?
I was going to say, let me get you batting order.
So yeah, this has been driving me crazy. So, I mean, with or without Springer, I mean, I'll go with Springer, though, just for the sake of doing it. And I guess we could rotate from there. But really, so the reason we need Springer so much is we got a lot of lefties in this lineup. I mean, a lot of lefties, and they're all kind of interchangeable. So what we're going to do here is lead off with Lindor, even though we could lead off with Springer, but Lindor is a switch, so I think that makes more sense to lead off with. Then we're going to go Jeff McNeil for the people at home, the fan favorite in the 2-hole as a lefty. Then we're going to pretty much go lefty, righty, lefty down. We'll go Springer 3. I'm putting in Conforto for now at 4, but this could change to Dom Smith. I view them both very similar. So Conforto, then give me Pete, then give me Dom Smith, James McCann, JD, Nimmo, and that's pretty much it. Lefty, righty, lefty. We end with 2 righties, but McCann and Davis. But then we have a double leadoff in Nimmo, who just loves to get on base. Now we talked about it though. I kind of am not against having Nimmo just lead off. I know it's great to have a double leadoff, but the man gets on base. So if you just plug in,
say that as well.
If you plug in Nimmo just at the start, at the 1, and you just have like Lindor, Springer, and all these other bats behind him to just move him along and get him in, I mean, we're starting the game off with a run almost every time. It's almost like guarantee, as crazy as that sounds, because his on-base percentage was nuts. And he gets hit with more baseballs than anyone I've ever seen in my life. And he just runs to first base all the time. I've never seen someone more happy to be hit by a baseball than Brandon Nimmo. And he gets hit a lot. So,
it was kind of you're reminding me of the 06 lineup when we had LaDuca in the 2-hole, and anytime Reyes would get on, Reyes would steal second. LaDuca would have like a ground out to second base. He'd get him over to third, and we'd have an automatic run in the first inning. And yeah, I love the lineup. I love the construction of the lineup. And I don't think you can go wrong. If you had a guy like Springer, it's going to fill out the rest of this lineup. And then I think the major question mark, and maybe we could add a couple more pieces this offseason to that bullpen, but I think the major question mark is going to be filling out that bullpen, whether it be before the year starts or whether it be at the trade deadline. And I think that, but I think we'll be able to get to that trade deadline where we're competitive. And I think the Mets will have to make their moves to put us over the top. But I'm still not completely sold. Edwin Diaz still scares the hell out of me. He does. He's scared. He's got the thing that is so frustrating about it. Edwin Diaz is like Evan Ingram. Evan Diaz, he is like Evan Ingram, where you see this unbelievable talent, and he finds a way to blow the game. Because you'll see Edwin Diaz go out there, the first two batters, he'll look electric. You're like, they can't touch this guy. And then he'll throw one bad pitch, and it just seems like every time he throws a bad pitch, they take him deep. And he's like the Evan Ingram of the New York Mets.
Dude, and if I got to hear people compliment his strikeout rate anymore, I'm going to lose my mind. They're saying Diaz had a bounce-back year last year. His strikeout rate was through the roof. I think he led relievers. I don't care. I don't trust him. And the issue was they took him out of that closer role, and he played better. And then the second they put him back in that closer role, it was the same exact thing. And you're right. I mean, we're going to go into this year possibly with him still there, and that's a question mark for me. I mean, that's uncertainty. We can get all the runs in the first as we want. Jacob and Marcus Stroman and all of these pitchers can do great, but if we can't close out a game in the ninth, what's the point? It all goes to shit. I mean, that could end up being the Achilles heel. And honestly, that's the Mets, though. That sounds about right. I mean, I've been a Met fan long enough. Closing out a game is usually the problem. The only time I ever felt really good with it was probably Billy Wagner. Other than that,
I didn't even feel great with Wagner. I remember I went to a Met Yankee game one time where he blew a 4-run lead in the ninth. I didn't even feel great with Wagner. John Franco used to be on the edge of my seat. Who else did we have? We had what's his name?
Familia had that one insane season when we went to the World Series, and then he blew like every game in the postseason. I'd rather him blow the games in the regular season. I'll never forget that Royals game.
Familia's breaking ball kills me. It always hangs way too much.
Oh my God!
The other thing, the quick pitch. The quick pitch pisses me off with Familia.
I have no idea why, and he did that in the World Series. I have no idea why he did that.
Also, too, I just want to make the point. The chat corrected me. You're right. Jed Lowry is actually a free agent. He's gone. I thought the Mets had signed him to a multi-year deal, but I guess there was a player option in there, I suppose. So,
and I saw they were correcting us with the stadiums. They got after us a little bit. I don't think you guys mentioned. I don't think you guys mentioned MSG. Of course, that's a very historical stadium, the world's most famous arena. But it's not. I think you were thinking more like the outdoor stadium, right? That's kind of where your head was at. But yeah, of course, MSG. I mean, come on.
Well, it's been Mecca. I've been to MSG enough times, but something. Sadly, I've been to the Izod Center more. I'm a Net fan. I'm from Jersey, so it's like what I mean. I'm not proud of it. But the Izod Center is probably it's worse. It's worse than any of them. So there you go. All right. At least you're not a Nets fan, if that makes you feel any better. A New Jersey Nets fan.
Have you been to the Barclays?
I haven't yet. Actually, have not yet.
I've been there for a concert. I haven't been there for a sporting event, but people tell me it's really bad for hockey. Barry says Matz, Familia, Cano plus a prospect for KB. Why am I not getting the initials for KB?
I'm not even 100%
Chris
sure.
Bryant.
Oh, Chris Bryant. Good. Oh, yeah. Matz and Familia take care of the contract for this year, and Cano would.
You think the Cubs would accept that?
Yeah, I don't think the Cubs are going to take on Cano. First of all, I don't think anybody's taking on Cano's contract.
No.
And then Matz and Familia, I don't think that moves the needle for the Cubs.
Yeah, no. I don't. I saw people on Twitter talking about the Mets potentially and Chris Bryant. I think it would take more than that. LA Lou says that's why the Dodgers left New York. Had they stayed, they would have played in Shea Stadium. They wouldn't be the Brooklyn Dodgers. There'd be no Mets. Yeah, Lou. I mean, listen. I'm thankful that you guys. That's why I always pull for the Dodgers when they're not playing the Mets. Except when you guys did what you did to us. That added some bad blood with Chase Utley, but they're like our big brother. So I mean,
but it also gave us one of the best Mets just moments and memes of all time. I mean, Terry losing his mind. I have it saved. I use it all the time when he just goes off in his tangent. I'm not going to drop all the F-bombs he did on here, but you know what I'm talking about. Our ass is in the jackpot now. That's all I got to say. I mean, infamous. So without that moment, who knows? Who knows where we'd be?
Absolutely. We're gonna get set to close it out though. I just want to let you guys know if anybody's, and I'm gonna let you guys close it out also. But if anybody is a baseball fan, please, Mets fan, I know not all you guys are Mets fans, and it'll grow, but go into the description below. It's gonna be right there. What do you say? We'll probably do a podcast maybe in 2 weeks. We'll get it going. Maybe as more news comes out, and we'll get it going. I'm gonna stream Met games over here. We'll send more guys over there. We'll continue to do the podcast, but I want to say, first off, thank you guys for coming on. I thought you guys did a great job. I know you guys are as excited as me for today. Huge day today for the New York Mets. I was going to kind of wait a couple more weeks till after the playoffs to do this, but I said, got to do it today. No bigger day for the Mets than right now after making an acquisition like this. And I want to say thank you to the chat. Thank you guys to everybody for coming in, even though you may be Yankee fans, even though you may be, whatever, not baseball fans. I appreciate all you guys for everything you do for my channel, all the support, and all the diehard Met fans. Congratulations. It was a big, big day. Maze, I'm going to start with you, buddy.
Yeah, no, thank you for this joint venture. I'm really looking forward to it. On our other podcast, we get to talk all sports, but it's basically dominated by football as well. So this is something I'm really looking forward to, being a Mets fan. And we haven't really had a whole lot to look forward to in general. So I'm really excited about this coming up. I'm really excited to work with both of you guys. So yeah, I'm ready to get it started. Make sure that you go ahead and follow us on Twitter at What Do You Shay, as you can see in Tino's description there. We just look forward to the engagement and talking to everybody about Mets baseball this upcoming season.
It's going to be a fun year. It's going to be a really fun year. Tino, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, so I mean, the What Do You Shay YouTube channel, we don't even have a post yet, but just being on here, we gained about 30 subs, so that's awesome. And if you guys keep doing that, that'll be great. I mean, we'll just eventually transition over there and pump out the content there, and we'll get on that. But yeah, man, I'm excited. And it's funny because we were just gonna kind of meet up today. I know that a lot of people don't know this, but we were gonna meet up and just talk about
that. Was what the funniest thing is. It was a coincidence. We said let's 2 days ago, I think you told me let's meet up on 7:30. We'll talk about the podcast, what we're gonna do. We're going to talk today, and then this happened. I'm like, we got to start it today.
Yeah, so we kind of just threw it all together, and it's not necessarily like it wasn't planned, but it's like it was unexpected. And me and Mage have a podcast together. If you guys don't know, we're a part of Clapback Sports. And another ironic thing, and I talked to Tanner about this yesterday because we were excited about Springer, and we were just waiting for something to happen. But I was telling them it's in the air. Baseball's been too quiet. Something's going to happen, and my God, I did not expect this, but more than happy to come on alive, share this with just baseball fans, Mets fans, whoever, Giants fans. I think if you're a New Yorker, you should want to see these other teams be good, and that's just the kind of person I am. So, if the Mets are good, it's only good for New York, like you said earlier, and, this is a good time for New York. As shitty as the times are, let's get New York back on track, and let's get something positive going for us.
Yeah, man, I feel the passion in your guys' voices, and I'm just as pumped as you guys are, man. It's been a long time coming for the New York Mets, and I cannot wait till the beginning of April to get this thing going because, listen, man, Subway Series is going to be fun again. Let's put it that way. Mets and Yankees, it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun for a while because Uncle Stevie's here to stay. But thank you to everybody for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Ernie, Thomas, Joseph, Jeremy, wanted to give you guys a little taste of what it's going to be like over there. Maybe we'll do another live here in a couple of weeks just to keep promoting it, but we're definitely going to transition over there very shortly, guys, and we'll have our content up there. If you're a Met fan, you're not going to want to miss it. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk soon.